welcome. My name is Michelle Legaspi-Sanchez, and I'm the Executive Director of the Chester County Fund for Women and Girls. Our organization is focused on ensuring that women and girls have the resources and opportunities to thrive, and we do that through philanthropy and advocacy. And one of the ways that we accomplish our mission is to make sure that we are highlighting the needs and experiences of women in Chester County, whether that be through published research like our Blueprint Report or through conversations like these. And this is very special because this is the very first time that we are offering this online segment called our Kitchen Table Talks. So I want to welcome our guests. We have Jen Lopez, who is the Deputy Chief of the Chester County Department of Probation. And we also have Beth, who has experienced incarceration in Chester County and now has become an advocate on these issues. In 2014, Jen helped found the WRAP program, which is the Women's Reentry Assessment and Programming Initiative, which we'll be discussing shortly, along with the challenges incarcerated women in Chester County face. So thank you for coming and welcome to the fund. So Jen, we'll start with you. An often overlooked population are women who have been involved with the criminal justice system. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that looks like?
Since about 1980, the number of incarcerated women has increased by 700%. So it's a conversation that we need to have, and it has been an overlooked population. In Chester County, we have about 106 women incarcerated in our county jail. Back right before 2014, we began looking at the numbers because we were seeing this increase. We saw about a 50% increase in the number of incarcerated women over a 3-year period. And on community supervision, probation, and parole, we saw almost a 75% increase. You can't ignore the fact that the numbers grew, and it really was because we weren't doing programming and interventions that were effective with women. So the WRAP program, we began to look at the research, and we began to look at assessment tools that were relevant for men, but not really picking up what puts a woman at risk and what her needs are and what's going to keep her out of the system. So we started with an assessment tool that would better reflect the needs of a woman. We became gender responsive. So what are women coming into the system? What are their circumstances? What drives crime? What are their needs when they get here? We had to look at things like transportation and childcare, and it became a barrier when a woman is a single mom or trying to make ends meet, and the system imposes a number of conditions of supervision. Really, we needed to start looking at those things and be part of problem solving with the woman, setting goals for her to meet her needs and the needs of her children.
I am a justice-involved woman who has experienced incarceration. Addiction brought me to where I ended up in prison. It had such a strong hold on me that it didn't matter any of the consequences. Like, I had been in prison and I got out of prison, and not having any type of rehabilitation, I drank for several more years. And when I was arrested the last time, I did some time, and in that time I was away from my children. I have 4 sons. They've experienced the trauma that I've experienced, and going to jail in itself is a trauma. You're scared, but it's traumatic. When you've experienced trauma, it completely changes your way of thinking. I was also in abusive relationships. Anyone that has been incarcerated or even been in an addiction has experienced trauma. There's definitely has to be a change, because on getting out, I was fortunate enough to be able to do something called recovery court, where it was the same, like, I was under supervision, I was monitored. I had a long list of things that I needed to do in order for me to basically recover. That I would have never gotten in jail. In jail, it's there's not a lot of women empowering women. Like, a strong woman is someone who's picking up another woman, not knocking her back down. And what I was most afraid of really just set me free. Now I'm a person in recovery. Now I am a certified recovery specialist, and now just to be able to connect with someone, not to be right, not to be wrong. People just want to be understood. And for me to be able to understand is huge.
I think our entire system is kind of ripe for triggering trauma. So someone who has had a traumatic experience is kind of on fight or flight at any given moment. And so being incarcerated, a lot of the policies, procedures, pat-down searches, strip searches, being held in a small area may re-trigger that trauma. We also have to understand that numbers are anywhere from 90 to 100% of women coming into the criminal justice system have a trauma history. And that often drives their crime, it drives their responses to interventions that we offer. So we became a trauma-informed agency as a whole. And so we offer programming, a psychoeducational trauma group, and we offer a cognitive behavioral group that kind of meets the needs of women as they go along. And so oftentimes, especially with women who have experienced childhood abuse, we see acting out in prison. Being separated from their children is traumatic. So a lot of times we'll see misconducts that are a direct result of that underlying trauma then being triggered in a system that's just kind of full of triggering policies, procedures, and just the environment in and of itself.
Not knowing what to expect is traumatic. Having someone be in there, especially I was sexually assaulted when I was 16, and it was with weapons, and he did go to jail for a very short time. And if I'm going to be triggered, I'm not safe where I'm going. It took me a long time to feel safe, and then here I am. I don't know if I look around the corner, and I'm just in a traumatic spot where my brain is fight or flight.
And we also know that women sometimes are the centers of their community. So when we incarcerate a woman, we're destabilizing her family, and oftentimes we're destabilizing entire communities. So, you know, the numbers were there, and beyond the numbers, the stories and the impact on families and communities were really driving us to make a change within the system. And we were seeing women who were trying to meet their basic survival needs, getting wrapped up in a system, and the system's response to them trying to meet their needs was to incarcerate them. There's zero research that says that punishment works to change behavior. So what we're really looking at doing is finding alternatives, community-based alternatives for women that allow them to be in their communities, hold them accountable for the mistakes that they've made, but yet provide healing for them and their families and their communities. We have 320 women in the RAP program today, and those women are mothers to 618 children.
Wow.
So the impact is far and wide.
There's definitely a ripple effect.
Yes.
With RAP, with self, I went and I felt empowered because I was helping to empower.
So it's all about connections and relationships. We know from the research that one good relationship for a child could really mitigate trauma. And so really, with all the research and the tools we're using, it's really about the probation officers and our case managers who really connect with the women. They see them as human beings, and they treat them with respect. They provide them the safety that they need, both in their physical setting, but also in the relationship, to be able to begin their journey of healing. Since the start of the program, we've been able to reduce recidivism, which we define as arrest for a new criminal offense, by 58%, and technical violations, which often land a woman back in jail when they're unable to meet their obligations of their conditions, by 72%. So it's having a huge impact on our local system and ultimately on the women and their children.
Even having a program like RAP connected to that, like, yeah, it's a supervision. It makes you feel more like a person going into a group with other people.
Right.
Oh yeah, I remember I experienced that. Honey, this is what I did to get through it, you know.
It's a powerful experience.
It's all about feedback, and you can do that with programs.
The women that I've encountered through RAP and through my many years in the department are some of the most resilient women that I know and have so much strength. And as much as we're giving to them, they're giving back to us when we see that resilience in their day-to-day lives. And I often said, when we hear the stories and see what they've been through, I don't know how they're standing and functioning, and yet they are.
Yeah.
And then to hear Beth talk, and we've witnessed it firsthand about how they help each other, and that's been one of the really nice things that's come out of RAP and the groups that we run. We see women connecting with other women and providing support and building support systems within their own networks, which is really leading to a lot of success.
I would certainly agree, and I feel very grateful to have met two of them, to two of these warriors who've been really working to change the system.